Hello there, folks. This quick video today is going to talk about a primitive that I rarely use, but was put to the task yesterday to learn how to use it to show somebody. So I thought I would make a quick video of how to implement a vertical bar graph primitive. Now, the primitive that I'm talking about here, team, is going to be over in the right-hand side of Crimson, over in the column here. If you're in the primitives on the right, the third option from the top is bar and line graphs. I'll click on that. And the one I'm talking about here is this vertical bar graph right here. And so this particular item, if I drag this guy out here like this, you'll see it on the page. I'll make it a little bigger, so forth. What drove this application was the customer currently logs data during certain conditions. They have a button they push when they want to log a reading, but they wanted the screen here to show the last 10 or 20 log values, if you will, in bar charts across the screen here. So given that I've rarely used this particular primitive, I thought I would take a look at it and how to implement such a thing. And currently what I have on my screen right now today is I've got a kind of a tank stick attached to it that does both oil and water in a tank. And so I've got a couple analog values currently connected to this. So if I go, let me delete that. If I drag out on the screen a couple tags, I've got an oil level and a water level tag already set up. And just so you know, if I go to data tags on the left, you can see here that oil level is mapped to a green tag to some external device, and water level also comes from it. And these, I'm just talking to this tank stick over Modbus comms. So in communications here, I'll make this a little bigger. You can see that I've got my HMI set up as Modbus, and I've got a tank stick device out there, so forth, that I can manually adjust. So that's where I'm getting my values from. So if we're going to play first with just our oil level. I think just stick with that for this example. And let me just download this real quick to my screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. And so on the web browser, I'm doing this full picture here. You can see here if I got a little chart showing. So if I manually move my oil level here, if I move it on my thing here, you can see that it ramps up and ramps down below and so forth between my 0 and 100%. So if I go back to the example here, we've got this set up, and first of all, what I wanted to do is I want to interact with this particular thing here to show you how it operates. So if I double click on this or right click and go to properties, you can see that on the options tab under data source, you got value count, minimum, maximum, and so forth. And first I thought, well, I just grab this, maybe I grab the oil level tag from over here and just drag it right here. But you can see that, first of all, it barks at you. It says, hey, this expression must be writable. Well, clearly this tag is not writable because it's green, meaning it's a read-only. So that didn't work. So I got to thinking, So I thought, well, what if I just type oil level here, and I'll call it value, for instance. So if I just type in, you see me do this other videos, I'm creating a tag on the fly. If I hit the enter button here, so it comes up here, says, okay, one level, we'll try this. I'll say yes. Now look, it comes over this little error. It says, wait a minute. The expression must be an array element. So I took that with a grain of salt and said, okay. It left it over here. Did it really accept it? Well, let me look. I'll click OK here. Or go back to data tags, click on this array value. You can see right now that it is not a array type tag. So I'm going to create it as an array right there. And I'm going to make it be, I'm going to have it say have 20 elements or items in this array, if you will. I also want to look at something else while I'm over here. Okay, all right. So I'm going to, I've got that set up there to do the oil level. Let me go back to here and double click. Notice it it deleted it, didn't really accept it, team. So now that I've got that correctly set up as an array, let me drag this out here and show you what happens now. I'm going to drag this right here. Bam. Now notice, team, that it puts a 0 like in the brackets here. So that means that it's looking at, right now, element 0 is what I thought. And I was thinking in my wisdom yesterday that I put the letter J in there, and I created an index tag or a value called J, and I was going to increment that to show the last 20 values. I found out that didn't quite work correctly because this primitive will automatically adjust this index number, which I'll show you here in a second how this works. But let me get back to my count. I'm going to make this equal to 20. And if you remember from any other video I might do, when you're using a tag level, you need to put in your min and max values here or get it from the tag, otherwise it's not going to show up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the min and max from the oil level guy by doing this. However, I'm going to dot min, that's the min value, and then if I go here, dot max, it'll grab the max value from the tag. So we'll drag that out there, click OK. And I don't know, let me look here, team, over here at the tag level. So we have a couple tags set up, perfect. All right, so we'll grab that, put that on our screen. That way we can adjust these on the fly. So we'll grab the scale, min and max, throw that out there like that. We're going to make both of these be data entry fields by clicking on the, there we go. Okay. So I got scale max, scale min. All right. Notice we did the last 20. I think this should look okay. So let's take a look at this and test it, and I'll show you what isn't going to happen right now. Go to the web browser here, get it to refresh. And I probably should move these over, which I'll fix here in a second. Notice nothing shows up on the screen here. Scale, min, and max is currently set to 100 and 0, so that's okay. But nothing shows up here on the screen. So if I go back to here, let me move this guy out of the way a little bit so that we can adjust those if we need to. All right, so the problem is that this thing is not filling up with any values at this time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go over to data tags on the left, and I'm going to create another tag right here, and I'm going to call this one letter J, like index, so just letter J. Go to the data tab. I might set it up to be retentive, and I also might make this other one be retentive as well. So I've got that set up there. What I need is I need a button on my display page that says every time I want to show this, I want to log it, I'm going to check this and add my oil level, collapses, to my internal tag here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and create a button. I'm going to click primitives on the right, go to the home directory here. I'm going to navigate into the core primitives, and I'm using Crimson 3.1 for this example. You can do the same steps in 3.0, it's the same thing. I'm going to slide down to where there's a bevel button here. I'll click on the bevel button one time, and it doesn't matter which one. I'll grab one of these buttons, and I'm just going to drag it over here. I'll make this guy a little bigger so you can see it. And I'm going to go into the properties of this thing. So right click and go to properties. And I'm going to change the text on this particular button to say log it. So that's what it's going to say. It's going to say log it on the screen. And then just to point out something, I'm all about contrast when I teach my classes. And if you notice, the example here with the red background with the black colored font is kind of hard to read as far as the contrast goes. So I'm going to change the font color here to white. And then I'm also going to make the font a little bigger by hitting the pick button and declare it a little bit larger font. And maybe a little bigger than that. And then the other thing I'll do here is I go to the More tab. I always like to turn on this direction down to the right. That always gives a nice 3D look. And then if I go to the Action tab, this is where all the meat and potatoes is going to happen here on this example. And on the Action tab here, what I'm going to do is where it says Operation No Action here, I'm going to hit the pull down here and choose user defined. Now you're going to notice here, folks, that you have 3 options under your action details. You have on pressed, on repeat, and on released. I always like to teach people when you're programming an HMI screen, try to use the on released so that when the operator lets go of the screen, we execute the function. Otherwise, if your operator is holding down a key and it's going from one page to another, and before you know it, you're 3 pages into a program. So I try to teach as most often, or a best practice, to use the on released. So I'm going to hit the edit button to the right here because I got a couple things I want to do. One thing I want to do is I know instantly that I want to take the oil level out here like this, and at this juncture oil level, I'm going to say not just element 0, but I'm going to say element number J, and I'm going to equal to the current oil level. So this is my array tag right here. I'm going to make it equal to the oil level, and then I'll put a comma, and then after I get done doing that first time, you know what? I'm going to do J++ to increment my index value. So I'm going to click OK, click OK again, and that should show me that number. However, I do want to prove it to you by going to data tags on the right side, and let me show you this trick, team. With an array tag, if I click on the oil level value, notice it's purple. It's kind of hard to read or see on my screen, but this is blue. This one's a little purple. These 2 tags are green. If you hit this little button right here, team, that says toggle array, it'll show you now all 20 of the elements within that array. Keep in mind that this number right here is the element J. So I'm just going to show you the first 10 values here, team. So I'll click here, and I'll grab up to number 9. 0 through 9 is actually 10 elements. I'm going to drag these guys over here like this because I want you to be able to see this working. I'll move this over here. So what we should see when we test this is every time I push this button, this value should increment and show what the current reading is at that moment. So let's go ahead and save this program. I have a bad habit from Crimson 2 Days, always save before you download, so I've just always done that. So I hit the save file, and then I'll hit the magical Shazam button. Here we go. Let's download it to our screen, and let's see what happens now. All right, so we can see here we've got our min, max, 0, 100 here, and you can see that it says 60 right now, which is interesting. I should have probably put a J on it. Let's go back here real quick. Hold on. Let's put the J on the screen as well, because I want to see if it increments this number every time I push this button. So this will let us see that. All right, let's try it out here again. Okay. All right, so if I hit log it, look, the first value showed 39. 60 must have been from what I was playing with before I started the video. But if I go ahead and increase the oil level on my tank, hit log it again, look, number 63. Oh, anybody notice what's happening here? Look at the example here. If I go up and change this again, now I want to log it. The oil level is currently 77. Bam. Look at that. And so what it's doing here is it's going to automatically show me in this bar chart. Right now, every time I push this button, it's going to show at least the last 20 charts across here. So if I hit a bunch of numbers there, and I can maybe change it again. Go down with my tank level to all the way down to 0. Maybe that's not the good thing to do, but I'll make it up a little higher here. And I can, of course, move my tank stick a little further. Anyway, you kind of get the idea here, team, how this operates. Now, I'm just showing you here the last 10 values. As I go past 20, what this primitive will do is it will restart over here and start filling in again. This works out pretty good and pretty nice. Now, the customer threw me for one more loop. They said, hey, what if I wanted this thing to always be showing me the last 20 readings and take a reading once a second? So it's like a continual bar chart fill-up thing. Not quite like our TrendViewer app, which is pretty cool, works on the data logger, but this one here was a vertical bar graph. Sorry, guys. It's early in the morning. So if I wanted to make this where it automatically incremented the values once a second. Well, let me show you how I did that. I came up with that idea. I said, let me think here. I got the page working, and the guy wants to look at this and show the last 20 seconds readings all the time. So I thought, well, heck, I could just do this. I could right-click on the page, go to Properties. You can go to the Action tab on Properties. And down here where it says On Tick, which is once a second, anytime this page is being displayed, I could run this little idea once a second. So rather than put it in here and make a long line, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the General pull down and choose Complex, which allows me to get into the code writing here. So I know, first thing I'm going to do, let's think here, team. I go over here to the left-hand side, right-hand side, and I'm going to grab my oil value. I'm going to drag it out here, change the index value from 0 there to the letter J, and I'm going to say equals, and I'll take the current oil level out here like this. All right, that works. That'll do that. And then when that gets done, I'm going to do J++ to increment for the next time. So that works pretty sweet, no big deal. However, what happens after 20 seconds? Well, I can just ask this question. I can say if, and then I'll say J is, let's say greater than, doesn't matter if I do greater than or equal to, but yeah, we'll say, let's just say equal to. Say J equals 20. If that's true, oh, by the way, I need to have 2 equal signs, team. I want to ask the question. If I just do 1 equal sign, that assigns a value. Remember, 2 equal signs will ask the question. So you could do it that way, or you could also say greater than or equal to 20. So after 20 seconds, what I'm going to do is I'm going to step out here, open brackets, and I'm going to reset my J back to 0 with 1 equal sign. So J equals 0, semicolon, enter, brackets again, enter down here. So I'm going to run this code once a second, I think anyway, and it's going to keep incrementing the letter J, oil value and everything. And then when J gets above 20, we're going to reset the index back to 0, and it shouldn't run this again. It should continue to do this. So let's see if this works. I'll click the OK button. It accepted the code. That's a good sign. I'll click OK again. I've got the J on here. I'm showing here the first 10 values. Let me make a little bit of a modification here, team. I'm going to double click on this one. And on the data tab, instead of it showing me the name of the tag, I'm going to say, no, I just want to see the value because I want to, oops, not that one. What I meant is here, under contents, I want to show just the data value. I don't care about the name of the tag. So I'll do that. I'll click OK. And then I'm going to make this guy a little smaller, like so. And I'm going to basically highlight all these other tags, and I'm going to right click and I'll say copy from, all formatting from this guy, bam, right there. And then I'll say right click on these and I'll say same size as this guy. And then once I do that, I can right click on all these again, and I can align with left of this guy. Perfect. So that's the first 10, and then I'm going to grab the other 10 over here just so you can see them all fill in. I'll drag them all out here like this. And if I just paste them right here, I'll say right click, copy from, all formatting, this guy, and then I'll say same size as this guy, and then I'll just kind of move. Okay, all right, so if I did this correctly, it should start to log our values once a second, and we should see the bar charts fill in continually. So let's try it out, team, and see what happens. So for our web page to update, and if you look at already, it's continually updating our screen, going right across like this, and it's just going to keep refreshing. Now, if I go change the oil level on my sensor here, as such, you're going to start to see that it's going to inch up and down here as it goes across the trend like this. And just going to keep working over and over again, which is pretty darn cool if you ask me. You can see it crank along. One more bonus thing I wanted to show you that I did with the customers app yesterday I thought was really cool. I added another bar chart right on top of this one to give it a little 3D look. I want to show you this. So what I did is I took this drawing that's currently working, and all I did was right click and went copy, and right click and paste. I just pasted another one over here. Then I moved this guy right on top, and you can do this actually. You can right click on this guy, and you can go to align centered on and click on this guy. Boom, puts it directly on top of there. But now that I've got that highlighted, I'm going to use just my little right arrow, and move it over just a couple pixels, just slightly offset like so. Because what I'm going to do now is I'll double click on this one that's slightly offset, and instead of it filling with the gray color, the same as the other one, I'm going to choose a red color. And I want you to see what I think is a pretty cool 3D look to this demo. Let me make it just a little bit more. You can kind of see how it a little bit offsets here. It's pretty cool. So I'll leave it like that. And you can also get rid of the borders or everything so you don't see there the border. But let me go ahead and save this and download it. I just thought this looked really cool in the demo. So now if I change my oil level on my tank stick here, what I thought was really interesting about this, in my opinion, is that you can tell where the preceding line is and the fallback, because look at the way the 3D image looks. You see how you can see like the preceding side view here? So I can kind of tell what was rising edge and what's falling edge based on this drawing. I thought this was really cool looking. It's just my nerd factor coming out. But I can't get that tank to go back up. So if I rise it back up, anyway, just a kind of a cool example here, team, on how you can use the vertical bar graph. I'm going to do probably another video shortly on the scatter graph, because that's a whole other animal that's pretty cool as well. So anyway, if you got any questions or anything, please post a note or send me a note here on YouTube, and I'll get back to you. And if you're interested in this overall Crimson database example, send me a note and I'll be glad to email it to you. I got no problems doing that. This is pretty cool and fun. Hey, thanks a lot, team, for using our products. You guys have a great day. I sure will. See y'all later.